Hello out there, and I've got a few videos on the way in the next week or so that are going to be featuring knives that I received from viewers, either through trades or through sales or on loan, whatever it is. And it's just really cool to be able to get knives that way and have that level of interaction with some of you. And so that's what you see in front of you right now are a couple mini Griptilians that were sent to me by a viewer named Bill. He did a really great job of polishing up these clips. You can see how much they just jump out. I mean, just really nice and flashy. So those are really cool. The Essie that you see right there is part of a really big trade with my buddy Jacob. And I will be doing more about that trade in the next video because we'll be talking about a couple CRKT Jettisons that we modified for each other. And that was supposed to be the subject of today's video, actually, but what you're seeing today had to get moved to the front because this big lot of knives that was sent to me by another viewer needed to get put on camera first. And the reason for that is that the viewer, who is a good friend and just a really good guy, is serving the military right now and is about to go away for a solid month. And he wanted to get my impression of what he sent me on loan before he goes, which is really cool. You know, he's sending me a bunch of really neat knives to hold on to and test out while he's away. So definitely going to keep them safe, and I thank him for his service. And so that's what we're going to do right now without any further ado, is just check out what he sent me and give him my initial impressions. So this isn't really an unboxing. It's, you know, I did take all this stuff out just to make sure it was safe and sound, but here are my impressions of the knives. So starting with this is a Sanrenmu. This is number 763, I believe, and I have had this model before, and it is definitely my favorite Sanrenmu ever. Probably the best axis lock not made by Benchmade that I've ever held. Really smooth, always liked this knife. Very, very small, but it is comfortable in the hand. One thing that I noticed immediately when I took it out was that the ugly brown backspacer that is usually on this model has been cut down and is more of a standoff now. You can see that. So a little bit of a modification there, and I like it. Makes it more of an open frame, so that is very cool. And yeah, 763, pretty neat knife there, and glad to have it back in my hands. And then the next one is a Gonzo. And this is a very cool budget knife, one that I have wanted as well. And I actually bought the wrong one. So this is the 753, the F753, and I purchased a larger one, meaning to get the small one instead. So very cool to have this in front of me. Very comfortable in the hand. I will definitely be putting some use on this knife because it is one that, like I said, I've wanted to get my hands on for quite a while. Gonzo just does a really good job with the overall look of these knives, and this one, really no exception. Looks to be a very, very cool one. But now let's get into a couple things that I've never really had before. Actually, the rest of these knives I've never really had before, so how about that? So I've never really had an OTF at all. You know, I've had some like dummy ones or some like really cheap ones that don't really do anything at all and the action is terrible, but this is a Lightning OTF. And the action is fun. Honestly though, I've never understood like the appeal of these knives and why people like them that much. I mean, the action is great and a ton of fun, but actually using this knife and carrying it, it doesn't seem to be very practical. The ergonomics just look like they'll be uncomfortable to actually use for anything more than just very light work. So I am going to carry this and check it out and see what it's all about and get my take on it. So yeah, first time with something like this, and we will see how it goes. Next is a Spyderco. It's actually one that I have had some history with. So this is the Spyderco Spin Sprint Run Blue Nishijin glass fiber scale. And the history that I have with this knife is that I tried to purchase the regular Spin on Amazon when I was very new to knives, and what I got was a counterfeit. I got a fake. I've talked about this a little bit in a previous video, but I got a fake knife. It was quite a while before I realized that it was fake because I didn't know anything about knives. And I finally did some research and found that, yeah, it was what they call a clone, but was really just a counterfeit. And I'd gotten what I thought was a good deal on it, but instead I was ripped off. And so I've never actually held a real spin in my hands until now. And this knife, it's just really good looking. I mean, take a look at this. It's got this blue, it's called that Nishijin glass fiber. I've never had this in my hands before, and I mean, it's just very, very attractive. And I always wondered why Spyderco didn't use this on more of their knives. You know, you see this on the little Lum. They have a sprint run. They also have another Lum design, I think, has it too. And it's slick. I think that's why. I mean, it's just really, really slick. And so it works out well with small knives, I think, because, you know, this knife is already going to be locked into your hand. And this scale, being grippy or not grippy, isn't really going to affect your ergonomics all that much. You know, it's already stuck in, meant for a gentleman's carry, not for hard use, so you don't really have to worry about it slipping out of your hands. So my guess is that's why it's used on this type of knife. And it is just a really classy looking thing for a gent's carry. So really neat little knife. Seems to be built really well too. So very cool to have this. All right, and now the next two are from brands that I have never even owned any of. So let's get into that. Kizer. How cool is that? A few of you might know that there are a couple Kizers that I've been trying to get my hands on. A couple of them I've been looking at, but I've never had a Kizer before. It's part of my goals for 2017. Maybe it'll still happen, but at least now I get to try one out, and this is the Gemini. And this knife is just very simple, minimalist, and sleek. I love it. Immediately love this knife. It's a great looking one. Built extremely well, very strong. The action on it is silky smooth. The lockup is great. If this is what Kizer has to offer, and this is what the expectation is when you get a Kizer, then I'm really going to love their knives, because this has a very, very good quality to it. And something about the titanium, I don't know what kind of coating they put on here, but it is very, very soft. I mean, it's like extremely soft holding it in the hand, but it's not slick. So not that it's like super grippy, but it's not like, you know, you're not going to slide around on it. So whatever this coating is that they put on the titanium, it is excellent. It is absolutely excellent. You know, and there's not a lot going on with this knife. It's just very simple construction done very, very well. So I'm extremely impressed with this. Extremely impressed. Very neat knife. Before we get to the main event, there are just a couple other things thrown in there that are very cool. One of them is a little top. Yeah, why not? Let's try. Look at that. Not a huge fail. In like the first few takes of this video, this thing went all over the place. So cool to have that. And then he also sent a hank. And yeah, if you know me, you know I love my handkerchiefs. This is sort of like a zombie hank. Pretty cool. I like the zombie dog. That's neat. And the stitching on this is actually very good. And I wish there were a maker's mark so I could know who made this, because it looks to be a very good quality. All right, the back is just black, but it's put together very well. So cool little handkerchief there. And let's get to the main event. Last but certainly not least, I've never had one of these, or any of the big three for that matter. And here it is. Hinderer. Bam. Right there. Whew. And it is a sweet knife, guys. It is very, very sweet. And just a little bit of background about my take and my opinion on the big three, being the Sebenza, the Strider, and the Hinderer. Of the three of them, the one that I never thought I'd really be interested in was this one, the Hinderer. I thought of all the knives that I was going to get, I would never pick this one up. It just didn't seem to me to be my kind of design. Didn't seem something that, you know, I'd be interested in. I aesthetically was more into just the look of the Striders and the Sebenzas, and, you know, if I were to get one of those knives, it would be one of those and probably not a Hinderer. But now that I've had this in my hands, man, I get it. I really get it. This knife is great. All right, it's really well put together. It is super strong. It's ergonomic. It feels great in the hand. The scale is extremely grippy, but not sharp. I mean, every little detail of this knife that I've seen, I like. And the one thing that I don't know is how much of this is from factory and how much of this is aftermarket. Because the look of this knife really, really ties into like the things that I'm interested in as far as how I want a knife to look. All right, this green, this is like a deep forest green kind of look. It's very nice, but then on the other side, just this finish is really gorgeous and really smart too. Because what you have is this like copper carbonate. It's that look that a penny gets when it like, you know, starts to get that that tarnish, I guess you'd call it. It's copper carbonate, and it's that look all over the frame and the liners and the clip. And then so you have it tied together. The look of the knife is tied together with this penny insert. Really brings it all together, and it's just attractive. But the thing that's great about it is it makes it clear that this knife is supposed to be a user, because the more wear you put on this knife, the more intentional it'll make that finish look. You know what I mean? So like beating up this knife or getting it scratched up will only make it look more genuine, which is very, very neat. You know, you can see some scratches on the blade. I mean, this is definitely a user, and it's cool. This is what it should be. You know, this knife doesn't feel like the kind of knife that you would want to hide. This is the kind of knife that you would want to attack stuff with. It's great, and it's great to have that feeling when you have a knife that's, you know, $300, $350 in your hand, and know that like it isn't going to be kept safe. It's going to be used, and it's only going to get better with age. So really impressed with it, surprisingly impressed with it. And also the size of it, it's way smaller than I thought it would be. Now, I don't know anything really about all the different Hinderer models and, you know, what you can get custom from him or from his company. I don't know how it works. So there might be much larger ones and a whole bunch of different ones. I think this one is similar to like the slicer grind that I've seen in ZTs, but I'm not sure. So it is just neat though that you have a knife that really fits in with the kind of things that I'm interested in, and that makes it a huge surprise for me and a big win. So very cool. Really, really happy to have this in my hands. I will definitely keep it safe. So real quickly, let's just bring back all of the things that we were looking at. And let me say one more time, thank you for sending this to me and for your service. I really appreciate it. Good luck out there, and I will get these back to you once you get back. And for all of you out there watching, any other questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, let me know down below. Like I said, Jettison mod video on the way soon, and I will talk with you all later. Have a good one.